A very good noon to all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. Yes, so all of you have been a part of this series 100 Most Expected MAH CET English Questions. If you are facing any query in your preparation, any vocabulary queries you have, any grammar queries, any logic based parajumble queries, you can always ask me here, right? So today is the part 4 of this session. I welcome you to this part. And again, we are going to practice some questions patterned on your previous year questions. So I've tried to bring those questions, those types of questions that actually come in your exam, right? Questions patterned on that format. Of course, I've already told you the agenda, and our effort is to learn the approach to various question types and also to expose ourselves to as many question types as possible so that they don't appear very unfamiliar to us when we go to the actual exam, right? Okay, so Yogita, if the paper has an English section, then yes, it is applicable to that as well. All right, so I again have categorized your questions into vocabulary, grammar. So today we'll start with grammar. Then I have a parajumble set for you because yesterday one of you asked me that, okay, can we do some parajumble questions? Then we have some vocabulary. And for these fill in the blanks questions, the easy ones, I've given you 30 seconds. For the direct vocabulary, such as synonym, antonym, you have 20 seconds. And for parajumbles, of course, you have a longer amount of time, right? So let's begin with this. Your first question of the day. This is a grammar question. Let me see what you say. Yes. Let's see. So your 30 seconds are up. Let's see who has answered. Hi, Aarti. Hello, Vaibhavi. Okay, so the timer is moving right above my head. Okay. Chaitanya says A, all right. Okay, C, B, all right. But I have got 4 A's. That means a lot of you think that A is the answer. What about others? There are so many students. Why so few answers? I need more responses. This is a straightforward fill in the blank question, no complexity present in it. Okay, D also. Okay, so now 3 of you have said D. Let's have a look at what the answer actually is. All right. So that means we have narrowed down to A and D. That's something that I can interpret from your responses that most of you may have narrowed down to A and D. Okay. So we insist on something. Okay. Insist is a verb that is followed by on as a preposition. So she insisted on my attendance at the party, right? So she insisted on it that I should come. Insistence is also therefore going to be followed by on. And that solves the question itself. So that is how easy this question was. Supreme Court's insistence on proportionality in vaccine mandate is good advice and a cautionary note. It's good advice and a cautionary note. And could not come here, so I'm happy that nobody said C. A cautionary note. Okay, the why do you want to fit the here? Because it's not that I have talked about this cautionary note earlier and now I am talking about it for a subsequent time. Okay, so the indicates familiarity, it indicates subsequent mention when something has already been mentioned earlier. That does not fit here because we do not have any prior context. Okay, so anyway, D and E eliminated because of that. Insistence in proportionality does not make sense. It is on proportionality. Similarly, in does not make sense here as well. Hence, A. Easy question. All right, so I hope this is clear to you. Why not D and why A? Moreover, within vaccine mandate, within indicates the idea of boundaries present. Okay. So we say that, okay, keep this item within the box. That means, okay, inside the boundaries of the box. So mandate is something that is assigned as a rule. Okay. Something that is a task that is given to you. Let's say you are a state, the government has given you some task with some parameters and rules, then the government has given you a mandate, right? So anyway, this also does not fit. Okay, perfect then. So this was your preposition based fill in the blank question. Let's go to the next one. Let's see what we have to do here. Yes. Okay. Again, this was not a difficult question. Let's see. Hi, Swagnik. So this is a result of years of practice. B, all right. Okay. All of you say B. Absolutely correct. B is the answer here. See, we always invest in something. Okay, so for instance, even if I talk about the financial markets, you invest in shares. Okay, so invest in personal relations. Okay, you spend on something, you invest in something. Right? So these are the prepositions that are used. And that is why, again, this was a super easy question. So your two blank, three blank questions can be easy, right? Because of the options. So don't be afraid of such questions that have three blanks, four blanks. You never know, they might be quite easy. Okay? All right, perfect. Let's go to, okay, so now the next question type that I have for you is called a cloze test. Who will tell me what a cloze test is? The spelling is this only. It is not SE, it is ZE. Yes, it's a popular employment test also. So, what is done is that a paragraph or a passage is given to you and certain words from it are deleted. Okay, now you have to plug in those words. So, ultimately, it is checking your ability to make associations, your ability to understand the context and interpret, infer on that basis and plug a word there. That is what this tests. Now, in MAHCET 2021, there was a whole passage which was a cloze test based passage. In that passage, there were vocabulary based questions also. So, certain vocabulary words were deleted from the passage, and you had to actually assign the right word to the right blank. And there were certain grammar based fill in the blanks also within the passage. Right. So what I've done today is I've brought a paragraph wherein certain elements, certain words are missing, and this is a grammar based cloze test. So let's see what you say for this. Yes, passage fill in the blanks. You have to complete the paragraph. All right. Let's see this. So I've given you ample time here, so don't worry about the time. Read it carefully. Okay, these are the options for your first blank, so you have to tell me what the answer should be. Yes. Let's see. All right. So, C, okay. So, Mr. Pius tried to answer this numerically. All right. A, Phoenix says A. Okay. Okay. Quite a few of you say C. But why? Ashmita also says having had. All right. All right. Good. The answer is C indeed, having had. Now, see here carefully in case you were confused between the other options, right? Among the other options. Fortunate is the person who has reached the age of 50 without dash. So without something. I want to name that thing here. I actually need a noun here, right? I want to name this something without something. Okay, so the name for that something, the naming word is a noun. These are not nouns. Have had. This is a verb construction. Had, a verb construction. Have does not make sense at all. Why would I repeat have twice? Okay, so these are verbs, and it's only this that is actually a noun. It's a gerund. A verb plus ing acting as a noun. We call this a gerund. Okay, so without having had to grieve, you are absolutely right here. Okay, so hope this is clear to everyone. Let's go to the next one then. Yes, tell me what the answer should be. So I think, yes, what have you eliminated? C and D, can they be eliminated? Correct, Vaibhavi, for the previous one. To grieve. Grieve is the verb form of the noun grief. Okay, grief is the sorrow that you experience on the loss of someone or something, right? So, grieve is the verb form, the action of grieving, right? Okay, so A, B, all right. E, some of you say E. So, Vaibhavi, why E? Okay, so here's something new for you. I'm sure that you eliminated C and D, right? See, we are saying that most of us go through this experience, except those who themselves die preternaturally young. Okay, preternaturally, something that's not natural. So they die extremely young and are themselves the cause of grief and are themselves the cause of mourning, bereavement, right? So beside cannot come. Beside means next to. So it does not make sense here at all. Had it been besides, that would have made sense. Remember, there's a difference between beside and besides. Beside means next to, besides means in addition to and except for. In addition to and except for. It has two meanings. So besides would make sense here, but not beside. Though only those does not make logical sense here at all. I am not presenting any contrast. Okay. A and B both are correct. E is the answer. Now, some of you must be wondering, okay, fine, I have heard accept, but accepting. So, accepting is also a preposition. It's just that it's a little more formal. That's why you don't encounter it so often as we do accept. Okay, but accepting also means except for. Okay, apart from. Those are the meanings. So, both are prepositions and both make sense here. The meaning of both is the same. Okay, hope this makes sense to you. Is the answer. So this was some new information for you, right? Let's have a look at the third one. This is a modal verb here. Let's see what you say. All right. Okay. So, what do you say? Is it A? Is it E? Okay. B, all right. C, okay. So I've got B, C, D, E. Okay, okay. Notice the two here. Notice this two here. Uh, does it make sense when some of you say C? Should it to be? Should it be makes sense? Okay, should it be makes sense, but should it to be does not make sense. It should be avoided. That's what we say, no? It should be. It should be avoided. It should be avoided. Do we say it should to be avoided? We never say it should to be avoided. So here this is eliminated right away. Similarly, it must be avoided. We never say it must to be avoided. So this was a simple hack through which you can, eliminate some of the options here. It ought to be avoided makes sense. It ought to be avoided makes sense. Right. Okay. Then it need not be avoided. We say this. It need not be avoided. It need not be. Again, in this construction, we do not use to. So, B is the answer because we are talking about something that is associated with emotions, morals. When we talk about such obligations that are associated with, let's say, morals, emotions, some religious obligation for that matter, we use the modal verb ought, okay, and not should. Right? When the element of emotion, morality, religion, etc. comes into the picture, ought is the modal verb that you should place. Right? Must indicates a necessity. Must indicates a necessity, and anyway, it did not fit here. Should is a simple obligation. There may not be any morality attached to it. Need again refers to whether something is necessary, required, or not. Right? So, anyway, because of the two, there was B that made sense. Okay. All right. So B is the answer. Ought indicates a moral obligation. Okay. It ought to be done means that you have a moral obligation to do it. It's a modal verb. Okay. Modal verbs are verbs that are used to indicate shades of meaning in a sentence. So, for instance, when I say I may come, that indicates possibility. I can come indicates ability. I will come indicates determination. So, that's the job of modal verbs. Okay. All right. Should we study entire grammar for CMAT? See, the thing is that grammar is not something that you can study in parts. I can tell you the important topics, but trust me, more or less they cover the entire grammar. So, of course, you should be thorough with your parts of speech, right? There are 8 parts of speech. You should be thorough with all the aspects of these parts of speech. Subject verb agreement, again, something that you should be thorough with. A lot of scope for errors from here. And the third one is modifiers and parallelism. Now, when you open a grammar book, you'll realize that this pretty much covers most of the grammar, right? So, yes, the answer is yes, the long answer. Yes, wherever there is an indication of a moral responsibility, you ought to go to the temple every day, right? You ought to speak the truth. You ought to fulfill your duties towards your parents, right? So, wherever you have this element of a moral obligation, there you use ought. Okay. All right, then let's talk about parajumbles. Okay, so one question is how can we cover it in a short span of time? So, to cover it in a short span of time, my suggestion would be that you can follow the backwards approach that you go through the questions and through questions you learn concepts, right? That could be one strategy. So CMAT previous year papers, MAH CET previous year papers, non-CAT previous year papers, you can go through, right? The other one is, if you attempt, let's say, um, if you have some notes actually. So there's something that I can suggest to you. GMAT students read this book called Manhattan Grammar. Right. Now, Manhattan Grammar has a very concise form, a summary of sorts of these grammar concepts that I talked to you about. So it is freely available online. You can just download the book, okay, and read those select few chapters that I have talked to you about. And it actually is very concise. So I think that can help you. Okay. All right. Does it mean have to? It means you should. Sid, it's the moral equivalent of should. Okay, so should and ought to, they are very close. It's just that the element of morality comes into what? All right, chalo, parajumbles karte hain, right? So this is a parajumble question in front of you. I haven't put a timer here. Whenever you are faced with a parajumble question in MAH CET, the first thing that you should check is it a set or is it a standalone question? So last year we had standalone questions, but in the years prior to that, we've had sets. Okay. By set, I mean 4 to 5 questions based on one parajumble. So let me show you this. This is a set here. Let me show you the questions associated with it. And in the exam also, you should follow this approach. See the questions associated first. So right at this stage, I can see there's a fill in the blank here. So there is going to be a fill in the blank question probably. This has been highlighted in bold. Let's see what is the purpose. So there's a question about a sentence that does not change its position even after rearrangement. That means I have no option but to arrange this parajumble completely. Yes. Then there is a question from the fill in the blank. After that, and if you see this is actually a vocabulary question. So a vocabulary question here. Here we have that part that was highlighted in bold. Yes, the question based on that, and looks like it's a grammar question. So you can get one vocabulary, one grammar question also within a parajumble set. That has happened in MHCT previous years. Right. And lastly, which of the following sentences is third from the end? So again, I have to arrange this parajumble. Sometimes you are given option, sometimes there will be a question, let's say question 5, that gives you options for the sequences also, right? Right. So multiple sequences, one of them is correct. But here I deliberately did not give you that, right? Because in 1 year, this has also happened that no options were given to you. So let's see, take your time, arrange it. Let me tell you that here you have enough material to make pairs. Okay, so first make pairs, then try to arrange them. You'll get it. Okay, let's see who answers the fastest and who answers the most accurately. So focus on accuracy and then speed. Yes. Okay, let's see. Yes, tell me. Okay, I've got my first sequence. Okay, others. Yes. All right, second one. Good. Yogita, you are right. Okay. All right. Should we discuss? I've got just three responses. 55 of you in the session. This is not even 10%. Okay. All right. One more response and I'll discuss it. All right. Let's have a look. So, see again, grammar-based clues when we talk about parajumbles, they're very reliable clues. Okay. So, if you see here, it says it operates. All right. So, what operates? This was the moment. Which was the moment? The relationship, okay, between socialism and liberalism. So here it has been properly defined for me which relationship I am talking about. Whereas here, if you see in B, I simply say the relationship. That means, okay, first I defined it here, then when I had to talk about it later on, I just called it the relationship. So this tells me that D should come before B. Now, see, I have kept some distance between them in order to accommodate for some other sentences that may or may not come in between. Right? Okay. Visions of market socialism are as old as industrial capitalism itself, as if the disembedding of markets were a simultaneous spur to imagining how they could be reintegrated in the new world to which factory production and wage dependent labor gave rise. Notice the tense, past tense. Notice the tense, past tense, whereas the other sentences are in the present tense. Also, when we talk about this fact that that visions are as old as industrial capitalism itself. So visions of market socialism, a combination of socialism and capitalism, they are as old as industrial capitalism itself. As if the disembedding of markets were a simultaneous spur to imagining how they could be reintegrated in the new world to which factory production and wage dependent labor gave rise. So we are talking about a moment of change. A new world has emerged. So this was the moment. Okay, EC looks like a mandatory pair, but again, I'll write it like this just to be safe. Okay, then if you look at this here, I call the relationship magnetic. Science students, yes, I want your attention. We talk about a magnetic field, right? Whenever we talk about magnetic attraction. So the relationship is magnetic, sometimes pulling close, at others repelling. It operates in a force field that marks not just the histories of political thought. So it operates in a force field. See, magnetic relationship operates in a force field. So in D, I introduce the fact that the relationship is magnetic. In A, I described how it is magnetic, okay, or what components of it are magnetic. So A can probably come in between, right? Okay. Then, if you see, when we say magnetic, we talk about attraction. Yes, the magnetic field is the field where they attract. Now, I am saying that proximity, nearness, attraction, remember, has not always rendered the relationship less fraught. So, first I talk about how the relationship is magnetic. Then I say that, that does not mean that there are not differences. Fraught means something that is full of problems, something that has its own, again, set of differences and problems. So this fraught actually fits with differences here, yet attempts to transcend these differences with which it is fraught have never ceased. So B and F make for a pair. So this entire thing is in the present tense. And then we have E and C, which are in the past tense. Okay, so we have tried to transcend the differences. How? By imagining a combination of capitalism and socialism. So the sequence should be DA, BF, EC. I understand that this was not an easy parajumble question. I never intended it to be easy. Okay, however, you could actually make such pairs. Okay, start from the very basics, grammar based clues, then move on to some theme based clues and accordingly make connections. Okay, so did anybody say DABF EC? DABF EC? Some of you identified that DA and BF are pairs. Excellent. Atrangi, Ashneer. Okay. That's really good. Okay. Still, good attempt. Those who identified that DA is a pair and this, what else? EC is a pair. All right. Or BF is a pair. So now I have actually solved this parajumbles 2 questions, okay, in one go. Right. So now I know if DA, BF, EC is the sequence, then what should be the answer to this? Yes. This becomes hardly a 10-second question for me, doesn't it? So, which does not change its position? Tell me. जल्दी से बताओ. What has happened to you guys? Okay, E. E is the one that is not changing its position. No, see A, B, C, D, E, F. So which is not changing its position? There's just one E, and that has to be our answer. Right? That is what was meant by this. Does not change its position. Perfect. Okay. Coming to the next question, now this is a vocabulary question. Now, my suggestion to you that even if a parajumble question appears difficult to you, for instance, this one, let's say you found it difficult, then also try to attempt the vocabulary and grammar questions from it. So that is also 50%, or let's say 2/5 if there are 5 questions, then that is also some job done, right? 40%, 50%, you will still be attempting. So question number 2 is a vocabulary question. It operates. So we are talking about the relationship between socialism and liberalism, right? It operates in a force field that marks not just the histories of political thought and dash conflict, but the personal trajectories of key protagonists of each. So tell me what the answer should be. Let's see. Okay, someone who's fond of reading about politics would not find this difficult. Yes, 2 is what I've got. All right. Others? Look at the contrast here, but the personal. Okay, legal or minority. All right. Legal conflict is when let's say, when you are in a legal conflict with someone, there's a court case that's going on, right? You're fighting against something in the court, in the courthouse, in the courtroom. That is a legal conflict. Okay, 1, 2, all right. Okay. Personal cannot be the answer, right? 4 cannot be the answer because the contrast itself is with personal. Okay. So I think I've got pretty much everything except the correct answer. The correct answer is 3 here. Let's see why. Um, See, the histories of political thought. That means some associated word should come here. Political thought and dash conflict. Not just that, but the personal trajectories also. So basically, not just political, but also personal. Not just political, but also personal. That's the tone of this sentence. And I have to write a word in the blank that resonates with political. Similar है जो. Minority, aggressive, why do you think they are similar to political? It's not that one of the thoughts, let's say socialism, one of the ideologies was in the majority and one was in the minority. That has not been indicated in my paragraph at all. Similarly, no aggression has been discussed, that there was violence of any sorts eliminated. Legal, again, that there was any court case that was going on or any laws that were being made. Partisan, belonging to a particular ideology, cause, party, that is the meaning of partisan. Okay, so we are talking about two ideologies here, no, socialism and liberalism. So partisan is the word that I'm looking for, and it is particularly used in the political sphere when we talk about different interests and different ideologies of different parties. Okay, so 3 is going to be the answer. Good Kajal, good Prathamesh. Okay, 3 is the answer here. All right. Now, let's have a look at this. I'm just going to show you the sentence where I highlighted a particular phrase. Read sentence D here. Read sentence D. This is the part highlighted in bold. You have to tell me whether it is grammatically correct or not, and if not, what should replace it. Okay. Yes. So, what do you say? Legal, I think, Millie, I discussed. There was no discussion in the paragraph of any legal conflict in place because we were not talking about any laws that were being made, okay, and how the laws opposed each other. We were not talking about any court cases against each ideologies that were going on. So that's why legal conflict is not something that has been implied in my paragraph. Okay, 1, 3, 2, 4, pretty much everything I've got. That means you feel okay, this is incorrect. Some correction is required. A lot of you say 4. Excellent. 4 is the answer. Sometimes pulling close, at others repelling. I think in my train of thought, when I was reading it out to you, I spoke out the correct phrase. Sometimes pulling close, at others repelling. Uh, at another repelling, no. Another is singular. We are talking about some occasions and sometimes, no. The word is word sometimes. Sometimes means on certain occasions, on some occasions. On some occasions, right? Pulling close, at others repelling. 4 is our answer. Good. Okay. The last one, which is the third sentence from the end. Yes. Third sentence from the end. Is it okay now? Is the video fine now? Okay. All right. So the answer is, of course, the DABF was the sequence, wasn't it? So this is the answer, fourth. I hope the video is fine now. Okay. And just a second. Let me just check. The connection seems fine to me now. Mm. Still, let me just. Okay. Should be fine now. All right. Perfect, perfect. So this is, I hope this is clear to everyone that F should be the answer here. Once I think you realize this, once you make the correct sequence, then these types of questions, they become no-brainers, right? Okay, chalo, perfect. Why don't we use sometimes, because English made it into one word itself for you. Okay, sometimes means on certain occasions, on some occasions. Okay, we use some time as two different words. For instance, some time has passed since I last met her. Okay, so that means some amount of time. Here it means some amount of time. So some and time, they are used as two separate words, but not some and times. All right. Chalo. Let's have a look at this question. Now, the only reason I've given you this question is that a question of this sort was asked last year, right? You had to match the masculine with the feminine of various animals in last year's question, in last year's paper. So I've not given you options for these because in a match the following question, it becomes really easy when you have options. So let me just see what connections you make, how you match it. Ample time I've given you. So tell me, what is the feminine of lion, pig? Yes, these came last year. All right. Lion, lioness, pig, so absolutely correct. So one is C, lion is lioness. Okay. Then five you say A, drake you say is doe. Is it? Remember we did a question on deer and does a while back. So doe is the feminine of a male deer, and a male deer is called a, remember the black buck case. How can you forget the black buck case? Yes. So buck and doe. Okay, we are left with these two. Again, not difficult. Four, some of you say D. No. Four is colt. Colt is a male horse. And a female horse, basically the young one of a male horse. A young female horse is called a filly. Okay. So colt, the feminine is filly. All right. And that is why 4 is B. So a young male horse is a colt. A young female horse is a filly. Otherwise, it's simply horse and mare. Adults के लिए we can simply say horse and mare. Right? Drake is to duck. Okay. 5 is D. So a male duck is called a drake. That's how I learned it, because duck is the simpler one. So a male duck is called a drake. All right. Okay. So, hope this is clear to you. Phoenix parajumbles, you improve at them through practice. The question that I gave you was a moderate to difficult question, right? Now, how you can practice in a lot of exams, not just MAH CET, in a lot of non-CAT exams, even in early CAT papers, you had parajumbles with options. I would suggest solve them. Okay, because most of the times you do get an option in MAH CET also. It's just that in a couple of years we did not get options in one question set. That's why I gave this to you without options. ठीक है. So practice from the previous year papers, and I think that should be enough. All right. Yes, we covered this in an earlier lecture also, where I told you that an adult horse, the feminine of it would be mare, but for a young male horse, it will be colt, and for a young female horse, it will be filly. All right, perfect. So let's have a look at a vocabulary question now. And here there are three blanks. There is one word out of these that can fit in all the three blanks. You have to tell me which is that one word that makes sense in all these three blanks. Let me see what you say. Yes. Let's see. Let's see. So I gave you ample time for this, right? What do you say? Vikrant says C. Okay. Others? What do you say? I want more responses. Come on. All right. D is what I've got. E, C for Canada. Okay. All right. So let's look at the meanings of these words. All of them are adjectives. Okay. All of them. So yeah. Now, the truck was stuck in a dash way with its front wheels hanging over the bridge. Sounds pretty dangerous, doesn't it? Many small businesses find themselves in a dash financial position as the pandemic continues. Of course, it's a bad financial position, right? It's not a good financial position. Employment is dash and unstable as the economy is shrinking in the continuing pandemic. So, again, employment is also uh, not that great. I'm looking for a negative word. Employment is low, right, and unstable. Perhaps something to denote that. Potent, again, if you've read your junior class English books, I remember there was a chapter on Julius Caesar that we had in class 10, and there we see that Calpurnia, Julius Caesar's wife, she experiences a premonition that perhaps Caesar is going to die. So premonition, a bad omen, something signaling that okay, something very significant and perhaps bad is going to happen, is portentous. So that's a portent. Okay, portent से बना portentous. अब यहाँ पर कुछ भी sign signal की बात नहीं हुई है. They are actually in a bad position, right? So A is eliminated very conveniently. Then precocious. We use this adjective usually with children. A precocious child or precocious children are those children who are way ahead of their age, right? They are wise beyond their age. So again, we are not talking about wisdom here. Eliminated. Predictable? No. I do not mean predictable anywhere here. Precarious, perspicacious. Now, again, if you attended some of my earlier classes, if let's say you took TISNET or SNAP also, I've discussed the word perspicacious in common confusables. Perspicacious is someone who is very discerning, someone who can distinguish between nuanced things very easily. Okay, so that kind of a person is called a discerning person. He or she can distinguish between nuanced things, has good judgment. Again, this is a positive word. I'm not looking for a positive word. The answer is C. Precarious, dangerous. Okay, they're in a dangerous financial position, in a very fragile and dangerous. Employment is again very fragile right now. So, fragile and dangerous is precarious, and it fits in all these three blanks. Okay, hence C. Good, those who said C. Okay, all right. Clear to everyone? Okay, so the last question for the day. Again, this question came last year, and that's why I'm giving this question to you. Tell me the meaning of this word that is written on your screens. Yes. So, You have to give me the meaning of this word. So MAH CET asked this last year, and it left all students discombobulated. It left them confused, it left them bewildered, right? But this is an exception, okay? The other words were easy. A, D, all right. Others. Fragile is something that's very delicate, is breakable. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's how we pronounce this word. I want you to search for a song related to it. The word was popularized by this movie Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is based on a play of the same name, right? And it has a song called Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And that's how this word was popularized. It's an informal word. So please do not use it in your essays. Okay. And no, it's not about fragility, obedience, length, or intelligence. It means something that's wonderful, something that's extraordinarily good. Okay, that is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yes, this is a word. Okay, and all right, good strategy, business maestro. I would do the same if I didn't know this word, but I have actually seen the movie Mary Poppins, so I've seen that song also. So yeah, extraordinarily good, wonderful. That's the meaning. Okay, so just an exception to some relatively moderate and easy questions. Don't think that this was the norm last year. Anyway, so I hope you learned some new words today in vocabulary. You learned some new question types. You were exposed to a parajumble set. We also did a cloze test question, a grammar-based cloze test. So, okay. So stay connected. I hope you've subscribed to the channel. I hope you've liked the session. And yes, you can download the app for more informative sessions and for some free vocabulary, grammar tests, etc. Right? Welcome, Vaibhavi. Thank you so much, Ajay, Vaibhavi, others. The length of the word isn't good. You are right. It's extraordinarily bad. CMAT, Sakshi, so we'll keep interpersing the sessions for CMAT in between. So, for instance, I think on Wednesday or Thursday, we have a CMAT session also. And these sessions are equally relevant for CMAT, right? So, the link is there in the description. In the description of this lecture, you will find the link, and it's also pinned in the chat box. See, attempt VARC quiz. There is a link pinned in the chat box. Right. All right. Bye bye. See you. See you in the next lecture. Bye bye.